Here I sit, cuffed to this rickety interrogation table again, staring at the flickering fluorescent lights that make my head throb. You'd think after all this time, the Eden PD would have upgraded their facilities, but no. Still the same peeling paint, same dented metal furniture, same coffee stains on the floor that been there since I started this gig 5 years ago. Speaking of coffee stains, Detective Lyon just spilled his all over the police report. Wonderful. You gonna tell me what happened this time? Or are we playing the silent game? The hulking lion detective growls at me, his massive paw slapping the table. Because trust me, pal, you don't want to play that game with me. I lean back in the chair, trying to project an air of casual indifference despite the fact that my wrists are starting to go numb. Detective Lyon, I'd be delighted to cooperate. But first, can I ask, is that a new aftershave? It's really overpowering. Or is that just your natural musk? His eyes narrow to slits, and for a moment, I think he might actually leap across the table. The door opens before he can make that career-ending decision, and in walks his partner, a massive minotaur whose horns scrape the top of the doorframe. Easy there, partner, Detective Minotaur rumbles, his voice like rocks tumbling down a mountain. Let's hear what our friend has to say first. He pulls out another chair, which groans under his weight. I'm Detective Minotaur, and I'd appreciate if you'd start from the beginning. The beginning? That's a long story, detective. I shift in my seat, the metal chair creaking. See, it all started when Scout showed up at my office 3 nights ago. 3 nights? Has it really only been 3 nights since this whole mess began? Feels like a lifetime ago that I was sitting in my dingy little office above the pawn shop on 42nd Street, nursing my 3rd whiskey of the night and seriously contemplating whether I should chuck my PI license into the trash and open a flower shop instead. At least flowers don't involve getting shot at. Scout swept through my door like a tornado in designer heels, all legs and glossy fur, and that perfume that costs more than my monthly rent. I need your help, she purred, dropping a thick envelope on my desk. There's a ring I need you to recover. A ring. I raised an eyebrow. Lady, I'm a private investigator, not a jewelry hunter. You want Tiffany's? They're 3 blocks down. Not just any ring. Her emerald eyes glinted in the dim lamplight. A family heirloom. It's been stolen. Uh-huh. And where was this ring last seen? The Rusty Anchor. Down on the docks. My stomach did that familiar flip-flop. The Rusty Anchor wasn't just any bar. It was ground zero for half the criminal activity in Eden. Drug deals, weapons trades, missing persons last seen there. The list went on. You sure know how to pick your hangout spots. I didn't go there willingly. Her voice took on a sharp edge. The thief lured me there. Said they'd meet me to return it. Obviously, they had other plans. I should have seen the red flags waving like surrender banners in a hurricane. Should have told her to take her money and her problems to someone who actually gives a damn about expensive jewelry. But those red flags? They just made the green of her cash look that much sweeter. All right, I sighed, pocketing the envelope. I'll look into it. No promises, though. Famous last words, right? The next morning found me nursing a hangover the size of Texas and a coffee that tasted like it had been filtered through gym socks. The Rusty Anchor didn't exactly roll out the welcome mat for outsiders, especially PIs with a reputation for sticking their noses where they don't belong. But I had my methods. See, the thing about places like the Rusty Anchor is that everyone there thinks they're the smartest guy in the room. Makes them easy to manipulate. A little flattery here, a fabricated sob story there, and suddenly you're not the nosy investigator. You're their new drinking buddy. Heard about that ring, muttered Big Tony, a rhino whose neck had more girth than my whole torso. Pretty piece. Would have fetched a nice price on the black market. Would have. I nursed my beer, careful not to drink too much. Needed to keep my wits about me. Some wolf tried to fence it last night. Got interrupted before he could close the deal. Tony's black eyes gleamed. Cops showed up. Funny thing, though, Wolf got away clean. Almost like someone tipped him off. Bingo. Dirty cops. Exactly what I needed to make my day complete. The wolf in question turned out to be Silver Fur. Real creative name. A small-time crook with aspirations of grandeur and a rap sheet longer than my grocery list. Finding him wasn't the hard part. Staying alive while doing it, that's where things got interesting. I tracked him to an abandoned warehouse on the east side. Classic. Why do criminals always choose the most cliché locations? As I crept through the shadows, my trusty stun gun at the ready, I heard voices. Multiple voices. Apparently, Silver Fur had friends. Boss says the heat's off, one growled. Cop on our payroll says the investigation's been shelved. What about that PI? The one asking questions down at the bar. Him? We'll deal with him if he becomes a problem. Well, guess what, boys? Problem just arrived. I burst through the door with my stun gun blazing, literally. Two thugs dropped immediately, their nervous systems temporarily saying goodbye to consciousness. Silver Fur, bless his furry heart, actually tried to run. Through a wall. Physics had other ideas. The ring, I demanded, pressing the stun gun to his throat. Where is it? I don't have it anymore, he stammered. Gave it to the boss. Which boss? Moretti. Runs the whole west side. That's when the window exploded inward. Glass rained down like deadly confetti as three more thugs burst through. I dove for cover behind a forklift, cursing my luck. The stun gun was great for close encounters, but in a firefight, might as well be throwing spitballs. Come out, investigator, one shouted. Make this easy on yourself. Easy, I called back. This is Eden. Nothing's easy. Not even ordering pizza. The next few minutes were a blur of gunfire and creative curse words. I managed to take out one attacker by rigging a makeshift tripwire with some old chain and sending him face first into a steel beam. Another got a face full of warehouse dust when I accidentally shot out a support beam above him. By the time the dust settled, literally, I had a dead cell phone, 2 bruised ribs, and a piece of torn cloth that smelled like expensive cologne. Plus, I'd overheard enough to know that Moretti was planning something big. Something involving crooked cops and enough firepower to level a city block. Back in my office, I tried calling Scout. No answer. Of course, beautiful women with mysterious problems never stick around when things get messy. They're like cats that way, all cuddly until you actually need them, then suddenly they've got pressing engagements elsewhere. I spent the next 2 days following the trail, diving deeper into Eden's cesspool. Turns out Moretti wasn't just any mob boss, he was the mob boss. The one whose connections ran so deep, they were practically drilling for oil. The dirty cop angle was solid gold. I'd managed to snap a photo of Detective Lyon meeting with one of Moretti's lieutenants behind Luciano's Pizzeria. Probably thought he was being clever, choosing the spot with the worst security cameras in the neighborhood. What he didn't count on was me, a man with a telephoto lens and absolutely nothing better to do at 3 in the morning. That's when things really went sideways. I was tailing one of Moretti's men, a bear named Crusher, who lived up to his name in every way. He led me straight to the rusty anchor. Again, some places just have gravitational pull when it comes to trouble. The bar was packed, a writhing mass of fur, scales, and questionable life choices. I'd barely ordered my drink when I spotted her, Scout, sitting at the corner booth with none other than Crusher himself. My heart did that thing where it forgets how to beat properly. You know, that fun sensation right before everything goes to hell. I watched them exchange something. A package. Papers, maybe. Or evidence. Or, wait, was that? Hey, a paw grabbed my shoulder. You're that investigator. The one asking questions. Sometimes I wonder if the universe specifically designs these moments just to mess with me. 3 thugs surrounded me, all wearing matching scowls and carrying what I'm sure were not concealed weapon permits. Gentlemen, I said, raising my hands, I'm just here for the happy hour specials. 2 for 1 nachos, am I right? The biggest one, a gorilla whose biceps had biceps, cracked his knuckles. Boss don't like people asking questions. Funny thing about questions, they tend to multiply. Like rabbits. Or debt. Speaking of which, anyone here need a private investigator? I know a guy. The gorilla's fist was the size of my head. I know this because it was coming straight for my face. What happened next was part training, part instinct, and part sheer dumb luck. I ducked under his swing, grabbed his arm, and used his momentum to send him crashing into the bar. Bottles exploded in a cascade of alcohol and broken glass. Bar fight, someone yelled, and suddenly the entire place erupted. I like to say I held my own heroically. Truth is, I'm mostly focused on not dying. In a bar full of predators, prey has to be creative. I used a bar stool to vault over a charging rhino, grabbed a tray to deflect a few bottles, and generally tried to cause as much chaos as possible while edging toward the exit. That's when I saw Scout again. She was trying to slip out the back, clutching that package. No way was I letting her vanish again. "Scout!" I shouted, fighting through the mayhem. She froze, turned, saw me, and for just a second I saw something in her eyes. Fear? Guilt? Indigestion? Hard to tell in a riot. "Stay away from me," she hissed, then disappeared through the back door. I fought my way through another wave of brawlers and burst into the alley just in time to see her getting into a black sedan. The driver? Detective Lyon himself. "Oh, you've got to be kidding me," I muttered. Then someone hit me with what felt like a freight train, and the world went dark. When I came to, I was back in the interrogation room, cuffed to that damn table. "Again, you have a real talent for finding trouble," Detective Minotaur observes, pulling me back to the present. He's been listening patiently as I recount my tale, occasionally jotting notes. "I prefer to think that trouble finds me," I reply. "We have a very loving relationship." Detective Lyon slams his paw on the table. "Cut the comedy act. You assaulted 3 officers in that bar." "Officers?" I blink. "Those weren't, oh, come on. Since when do undercover cops jump random citizens in bars? Since those random citizens have been interfering with an ongoing investigation." Lyon roars. This is where the fun part begins. "See, I've been sitting here for the past hour, wearing these cuffs, listening to Lyon rant about my supposed crimes, all while a tiny wire taped to my chest has been recording every word. The beauty of being arrested so often, you learn the system. And more importantly, you learn how to play it. Ongoing investigation. I muse. Is that what we're calling taking bribes from the Moretti family now?" Lyon's face goes from angry red to sheet white in about 2 seconds. Minotaur straightens up, his massive frame suddenly alert. "What's that supposed to mean?" Lyon demands, but his voice cracks just enough. I lean forward as much as the cuffs allow. "Well, detective, while I was being beaten unconscious by your undercover officers, I couldn't help but notice some interesting documents falling out of your jacket pocket. Documents with very specific financial information. 6-figure deposits. Offshore accounts. Ring any bells?" "You're bluffing," he growls, but sweat is beading on his fur. "Am I? Because those documents? They're currently sitting in a safety deposit box with instructions to be opened by Internal Affairs if anything happens to me. Funny thing about safety deposit boxes, they're really good at keeping secrets until you don't want them to be secret anymore." The room goes so quiet you could hear a mouse whisper 3 rooms over. Minotaur is staring at his partner with an expression I can't quite read. Lyon looks like he's trying to decide whether to confess or run. "There's more." I continue. "See, while you two have been playing your little interrogation games, I've had my assistant transferring all my evidence to the district attorney's office. Photos of you meeting with Moretti's men. Recordings of conversations. Security footage from the Rusty Anchor showing you giving the signal to clear out before the place was raided." "You're lying," Lyon roars, but his protest sounds hollow even to my ears. "Scout was the best part, though." I chuckle. "Nice touch, using her as bait. Shame about that whole falling in love with the Mar thing, though. Makes people sloppy. Scout. Beautiful, mysterious Scout. The one who hired me to find a ring that was never stolen. The one who led me straight into Moretti's web. The one who, I discovered in about 30 seconds of actual detective work, was Moretti's niece. See, that's the thing about this job. Everyone's playing an angle. Scout wanted me to think I was helping her, when really, I was being positioned as the fall guy for whatever Moretti was planning. Smart move. Almost worked. Minotaur finally finds his voice. "Lyon, tell me this isn't true." His partner just stares at the table, defeated. 15 years. Minotaur continues, his voice heavy with betrayal. "We've been partners for 15 years. My kids call you Uncle Lyon. My wife makes you dinner every Sunday. They threaten my family." Lyon finally explodes. "You don't know what these people are capable of. So you became one of them?" The argument continues, but I'm already planning my next move. See, there's still one piece of this puzzle that doesn't fit. The ring. The actual ring. Because despite everything, I'm pretty sure it actually exists. And more importantly, I know where it is. I clear my throat. Gentlemen, while this is all very touching, I have one more revelation for you. Both detectives turn to me. The ring you've all been chasing? The one everyone thinks is worth millions? It doesn't exist. Lion snorts. Nice try. We all know. What you know is a lie. The ring is code for something else entirely. A hard drive. One that contains financial records for every politician, police officer, and judge on Moretti's payroll in Eden. Now I have their full attention, and I know where it is. The next hour is a blur of activity. Minotaur, to his credit, makes a choice. He uncuffs me, calls for backup he can trust, and together we formulate a plan. Lion? He's cuffed to the very table I was just freed from. How the tables turn. Where's the drive? Minotaur asks me. My office. Hidden in a place even I'd have trouble finding if I wasn't me. We're gearing up to leave when the first explosion rocks the police station. Glass shatters everywhere as Moretti's men assault the building. They're here for the drive, for me, or both. Probably to tie up loose ends. Stay behind me, Minotaur shouts, drawing his service weapon. With pleasure, I reply, though I've armed myself with a stun gun and a spare magazine I liberated from Lion's desk. The corridor is chaos. Moretti's men are professional, well-armed, and thoroughly committed to burning the building down if necessary. We fight our way down the main hall, dodging bullets and debris. There's too many. I shout over the gunfire. That's when the cavalry arrives. The doors burst open and federal agents flood in. FBI, DEA, ATF. Apparently, my safety deposit box had contained more than just evidence against Lion. I'd also included enough information to get every federal agency interested in Moretti's operations. Stand down. A voice booms through a megaphone. This is the FBI. Some of Moretti's men surrender. Others go down fighting. It's over in less than 10 minutes. I find myself outside, watching the sunrise over Eden's skyline as they load criminals into vans. Minotaur approaches me, extending a massive hand. You played us all, he says. I play the players, I correct. There's a difference. The evidence you gave us. It's enough to clean house. Really clean house. Good. The city needs it. What about the ring? The hard drive? Was any of that true? I grin. The drive's real. Hidden in the false bottom of my desk drawer. The ring? Now that's an interesting story. It really was stolen. By Silver Fur, who sold it to a pawn shop for $50. It's probably sitting in some tourist jewelry box right now, and they have no idea what they bought. Minotaur laughs, a deep rumbling sound. You're either the luckiest son of a gun I've ever met, or the smartest. Can it be both? He shakes his head. You should consider joining the force. We could use someone like you. Thanks, but I'll stick to the private sector. Better hours. Fewer explosions. As if on cue, another small explosion comes from inside the building. Well, I amend, usually fewer explosions. 2 weeks later, I'm back in my office, feet up on my desk, reading the newspaper. The headlines are still full of the police corruption scandal. 27 officers arrested. Moretti's empire crumbling. Detective Lion singing like a canary to reduce his sentence. My door opens and Scout walks in. She's dressed more conservatively now, less femme fatale, more defense attorney. I need your help, she says, and I have to laugh. Let me guess, family heirloom? She smiles sheepishly. Actually, I need you to testify at my uncle's trial. As a witness. For the prosecution. Switching sides. Some of us can change. She pauses. Some of us want to. I consider this. And if I say no, then I accept your decision. But I think you know the right thing to do. The right thing? I mull over the words. Funny how that seems easier to identify when you're not being shot at. 2 days later, I'm testifying. Moretti goes away for life. His empire dissolves. Eden breathes a little easier. Of course, 3 days after that, I'm back in an interrogation room. I tell Detective Minotaur, he's the lead on my case now. This seat is starting to form to my shape. You might want to consider getting chairs with better lumbar support. You punched a district attorney. He was trying to bribe me. In a courtroom. During a recess. Details, details. Minotaur sighs and uncuffs me. Get out of here. But for the love of all that's holy, try to stay out of trouble for at least a week. A week? And then. I stand up, rubbing my wrists. I'll give you 3 days. That's the best I can do. He shakes his massive head as I walk out. The sunset paints Eden in shades of orange and red as I step onto the street. The city never changes, not really. There's always another corrupt politician, another crime boss rising to fill the void, another beautiful dame with a sob story. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. Need your help. Very urgent. $10,000. The Rusty Anchor. Tonight. I should go home, take a shower, maybe watch some mindless TV and eat pizza. Instead, I hail a cab. The Rusty Anchor, I tell the driver. He glances at me in the rear view. You know what kind of place that is? Oh yes, I grin. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Because here's the thing about being arrested again and again. It means you're still standing, still fighting, still making a difference in a city that would rather you shut up and look the other way. As the cab weaves through Eden streets, I realize I'm not the same guy who started this case. I've seen behind the curtain, face-down monsters wearing badges, and learned that sometimes the best way to beat the system is to know it better than it knows itself. The Rusty Anchor comes into view, its neon sign flickering in the gathering darkness. New night, new case, new trouble waiting to be found. I pay the driver and step out, straightening my jacket. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wail, the city's lullaby. Here we go again, I mutter to myself, pushing open the door. And you know what? I'm actually looking forward to being arrested again.